Hello and welcome back to the Metamystic Show. It's great to see you all today. Today's title is Rich versus Abundant. Secrets of the Empress. Birth your dream life faster than you think. So let's start here with the Ten of Pentacles. This is our first card. When I started many years ago on my journey of the Ten of Pentacles, I remember thinking when I was like 14 years old, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. I remember sitting there thinking about the concepts of both of those books and being like, I can do this. And it was almost like this supernatural like force entered my body. It was kind of like a confidence that I should not have had, to be honest with you, because I did not come from wealth. I will say that my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He owned his own Ford dealership for many years, and my father was the general manager over that company for 25 years, and my dad was always doing like his next wacky side business, right? So I did grow up with that sort of thinking. My father was the one who taught me about business, and I did learn a lot of good things from him. He was the one who showed me those books to begin with, and I remember thinking when I was like 14 that I wanted to have this Ten of Pentacles. I remember reading specifically in Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, about this concept of outsourcing. And this is an older book. But I just remember thinking about like, with the Ten of Pentacles, if you see on this card, there's lots of people in this card. We don't have the Nine of Pentacles here, but on the Nine of Pentacles, she's all alone. So we go from an abundant, prosperous entrepreneur in the Nine of Pentacles. When we go to the Ten of Pentacles, we jump from one person to many. There are even dogs in this picture. You can look out in the scene and see this whole city back here. Like there's a lot going on in this imagery, implying the Ten of Pentacles is like an empire, right? The Ten of Pentacles is not just success. And that's why today we're talking about being rich, right? Versus being abundant, the Empress. And we'll get to the Empress. But, you know, the Empress to me is abundance personified. She's a goddess. She's not a regular person. And that's why I started off by saying it was almost like some sort of supernatural force entered into my body at that time, where I just felt this this vision entered into me where I was like, I'm going to have my own empire. Where like all of my friends at the time, 14-year-old kids, like were not even interested in having a conversation with me at that time about their empire, let alone like doing it themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying all this to be like, wow, I'm so amazing. I started off when I was 14. No, it's actually the exact opposite. I have led a very lonely life because of this. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff the way I do, because that's why I have this show, because it's like this sounds like a very inspirational message. Like we're talking about how to become more abundant and how to have our dream life and everything. But in reality, I always have got to balance this stuff out, because this is very challenging to go against the grain. Most people are not doing this, Ten of Pentacles. Most people are not entrepreneurs. I will say, as I'm sitting here right now, I feel like I got eye bags under my eyes. I feel exhausted. And I'm not saying this to discourage you guys. I'm just saying this this stuff, and by stuff, I mean building your legacy, building your 10 of Pentacles, building your empire, it can be exhausting. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's not, because you can read 150 books and go to a million courses, which I did, and be a part of all sorts of different things and feel like intellectually, and that's what brings us to the Knight of Swords. This is our next card. You can kind of fake out your brain by reading all these books, right? This is a really good example that's coming to my mind. I'm thinking of a book that I have, and it's on reading charts in the stock market. I spent a couple years studying the stock market heavily and was part of a stock market group by my first true business mentor, Sandy Krakowski, and her partner, John Blau, at the time. So basically, my example with the Knight of Swords is like, it's one thing to read Knight of Swords, a book about how to read charts in the stock market. It's another thing, and I mean it's like a totally other thing, to go tomorrow morning, just get in there, right? I don't care what app you use. Just get in on the open and start looking at those charts and understanding, like, okay, this is going up, this is going down. My point is that there's so many other factors when you actually do something. 10 of Pentacles. I remember, like, when I first started in the stock market, my heart, like my anxiety, Knight of Swords, I was literally like sitting there sweating. Like as I am watching the chart go up like this, I literally felt like my heart was gonna like explode out of my chest. A lot different than me just like casually reading about charts on my couch. Very, very different when you actually get in the game, quote unquote, and you have money on the line and you're losing money and you're left holding the bag. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a totally different, and that's what I'm trying to bring into this episode today. The realism of what it actually means to build this dream life out. Like, there's a lot of different factors to this. Like, it's super fun and like easy to just kind of be part of like communities that talk a lot about this stuff. We think a lot about this stuff with the Knight of Swords, right? It's a very different thing to the Star actually walk that vision out, right? The Star is like, today, because I'm talking about birthing your dream life faster than you think, Knight of Swords, today I'm actually seeing this with the Star and the Empress. I'm seeing on the Star card today this water as kind of like when your water breaks when you're pregnant. I'm seeing it as the Star today feels to me like the womb of the mother. It's 12/12 as I'm saying this. This episode is kind of like expectation versus reality. Have you ever seen those memes? Like with the Star and the Empress, it's like the idea of having a baby. I mean, we have the 10 of Cups here, which is interesting. There's so much imagery in these cards. And if this is your first episode, I pull these cards just like I pull for readings. I ask my guides to give me a topic to speak on. And it's just really crazy that in this episode, we have the 10 of Pentacles, the 10 of Cups, the Empress, the Star. These are literally like cards of birth, of children, of mothering, of abundance. So anyways, my point with saying this is it's very different to like think about the idea of being pregnant and how women talk about like glowing and etc. than when like your water breaks and you're literally like in the hospital having the baby or however you have it. When I think about having a baby, I'm like, I kind of want to have a baby at home, but anyways. My point was saying all of this is like I said, it's expectation versus reality. It's like me sitting with that book, like learning how to read charts, and then actually having my money on the line. Like, I've lost money in the stock market. I've also made money in the stock market. And it's just funny to me when I think about some of these YouTube videos even that are like, make $1 million by next week, guaranteed with my course for $999.99. It's like, okay, all right, pal, let's simmer down, everybody. I'm not trying to be discouraging. I'm just trying to be a realist that I have been working my ass off since I was 14. I've done multiple different things. Like, this ain't my first, this Meta channel, this ain't my first rodeo. I've had multiple YouTube channels. I've tried multiple businesses. I went to college and dropped out. I've just, like, I don't even know how to explain it to you guys. I feel like I've lived 20 lives already. But this is the thing I want to encourage you with, right? This 10 of Pentacles has always stayed the same. No matter which lane I was in, it always came back to this 10 of Pentacles. It always came back to wanting this dream life, right? And sometimes you've got to try on different costumes, so to speak. You may find, you may start off by thinking, you know, like Tim Ferriss, like you want to start like a vitamin supplement company or something because you're like, oh, there's money in that 10 of Pentacles. And that's what we're going to talk about, rich versus abundance. By the way, we're going to get to all that. I'm just kind of opening with this concept of a dream life and what is that and what does that really mean? And then what, you know what I'm saying? And my own experience. So it's like on one hand, it's like, oh, that's super lucrative. I'm going to get into that field. Nothing wrong with that. Like, absolutely nothing wrong with actually doing something that's going to make you money. But it's another thing to only want to become rich. 10 of Pentacles is not rich. It's not being rich. You know, it's like the concept, it's like the Solomon concept, the Kabbalah. Like, see this, the way that the pentacles are laid out on here. This is actually Jewish symbolism. And this is talking about like the ancient abundance of the gods, essentially, right? When we think about being rich versus being abundant, what does that really mean? It means that I could have $1 million to start a business, or I could have $1 and start a business and be just as successful. Abundance, to me, the idea of abundance is this Empress. Let's talk about the Empress a little bit. The Empress is very industrious. She uses what she has, right? She literally is a creator. She will create something out of nothing, even if she doesn't have any money, right? She can create something. She's the creator. She's the mother. She's a goddess. She's an empress, right? She literally births ideas, concepts, and physical beings like children into the world. It's one thing to be rich. It's another thing to be abundant, because you could lose your life savings tomorrow. And for somebody else, that would put them out of commission, man. They would, I mean, some people, it's a really, really sad story that's coming to mind, actually. There was a kid who was getting involved in crypto, and he invested a bunch of money. And I don't know which crypto it was in, to be honest with you. I heard the story a couple years ago when I was in the stock market, like I was telling you guys. So younger guy, he put a bunch of money on his parents' credit cards, and I think it was like $150,000, and he lost it all. He didn't tell his parents what he had done. When they found out, he was so devastated that he actually unalived himself. So, and I know that that's a kid, but I'm just saying that to prove a point. It's like, this stuff is not a joke, right? Like money it's a heavy topic, right? It's not just something that we like talk about lightly, like, oh, our dream lives. It's like, this is Knight of Swords. Money is what breaks up marriages, money issues. Money is what gives people hypertension, what keeps people awake at night. Knight of Swords, where your mind is so fast all the time about money and fearing about money and where you're gonna pay, how you're gonna pay your bills, where you're gonna get your next this or that. Like, to me, and it's probably just because I'm an earth sign, but to me, the number one thing that needs to be handled is the money problem. In most people's lives, I've seen it across the board. When I was a minister, it was one of the main issues that people brought to me, aside from having like relationship issues, right? Same within the tarot world. It's like love and money are the most popular tarot readings, right? So anyways, and we have the 10 of Cups here too. We have 10 of Cups, love, and we have 10 of Pentacles, money. So the dream life, for a lot of us, it's not just about money. It's also about when we have that money and we have that stability, like we want to have a life to share with somebody else and possibly even with children or with dogs. You know, there's 2 dogs on the 10 of Pentacles, right? Today we're talking about the broad scope. I'm not just talking about like, oh, I need to pay my mortgage at the end of the month, which I do. It's not just about that today. It's about this big vision for your life, right? All right, so let's get back into this, which that's what the star is. You know, it's interesting that the star came out today as well, because the star, it's like a compass. It's like a map. It's the North Star. It's like when all hope fails, when all else fails and your business collapses for the 5th time, me, I've tried a bunch of stuff, right? It's like when everything hits the fan, it's like, what do you have left? Your North Star. You have the star. It's like, that's what I can offer you today, is to keep going no matter what, and you will achieve this dream. The Empress is not rich, and the Empress may have a lot of money, right? But she's not rich. She's abundant. What does that mean? I know I touched a little bit on that before, but I want to go deeper with it, because it's like the Empress could be a billionaire, literally. She could have $1 billion. But that's not what makes her abundant. What makes her abundant is who and what she possesses, who and what she is. She is abundance. Money is a side effect, right? She also has other things that are always growing around her. She's very loving. She has an abundance of love. She has an abundance. People say that the Empress, this is a card of beauty. This is like Venus. This is like the most beautiful woman that walks in the room, right? The most beautiful man that walks in the room, or however you identify. This is a Venusian energy here. And it's not just appearance based. It's like, as she walks by, it's like you smell her perfume. As she walks by, you feel like this magnetism. The Empress is very magnetic. So for her, it's not about how do I get money. It's how do I be who I am, and money comes to me. We hear this a lot in the spiritual community, right? I don't chase, the Knight of Swords. I don't chase, I attract, the Empress. And that is very true. And that's the divine feminine, and that is that yin energy, right? It's the energy of creation. It's the energy of magnetism. It's the energy of abundance. It's like as she walks, the plants grow as she walks through the field. The flowers move and blow in the wind. The birds sing. She's a goddess, right? It's almost like she's above money, if that makes sense. Money follows her. Money is drawn to her, right? So that's what I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about let's get rich, everybody. Let's get rich. Yeah. No, I'm not talking about get rich. Okay. I'm talking about let's become abundance personified, and money will find its way to us. Or we will receive ideas that help us to, how do I say this, spirit? It's like abundance is what we're after, not riches. Because like I said, your entire life savings, everything you worked for years could be gone in a second. Boom, everything's gone. Everything's gone. Right? What do? Well, I can't start again. This took me 25 years to get here. Well, we have an issue then, don't we? And I'm not a prepper, but I kind of am. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go into prepping right now, but what I'm saying here is that it's kind of that mindset. Okay, it's all great, 10 of Pentacles. You built your fortunes. What happens when, and I don't want YouTube to get me for this, but what happens if something happens in the world? Let's just keep it general. What if something happens in the world? What if something happens with the banks? What if something happens with the monetary system? We've already seen a lot of this happening, and I'm not trying to put fear into your heart. I'm just saying it's like, what is money at that point, right? Was it Venezuela where their currency went down to like nothing, basically? And that's actually why crypto was doing so well over there a couple years ago. Ironically enough, that Bitcoin was worth more than, anyways, I'm not going to get into that. I don't even know if it was Bitcoin. It might have been Ethereum or something, but regardless, I'm not trying to go into that. I'm just saying it's like, it's all relative is my point. Okay, we're doing the whole thing. We're making all this money. We're rich. It's like, okay, great, you're rich. What happens when something happens? Because something's always going to happen. And again, I'm not trying to be, like I said, I'm a bit of a prepper. I'm a realist, I should say. My point is that we have all of these ideas of what we want to have and what money is and how it's defined. Okay, what happens when, the streets are full of like riots and stuff and you can't even have access to the banks because the internet doesn't work anymore because something happens. Okay, I don't want to go into all that. My point is like, okay, oh my God, you're on your phone. I can't access my bank account. What do? Well, the Empress is prepared, right? Everybody's in mayhem. I did not think this episode was going to take this turn. Interesting that it is. Everybody's in mayhem, running through the streets. You know what I'm saying? The Empress is totally fine. The Empress has, here's her 10 of Cups. The Empress has land, right? The Empress has her own farm. And this doesn't have to be for you. I'm just saying this is like my dream where I could literally live completely off the grid. I don't need anything or anybody. I have my own crops. I have my own land. I have my own everything. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the Empress. It's like literally everything in the world could collapse and she's good. You know what I'm saying? She's got her land. People are literally coming to knocking on her door. Can you take us in? Can we just put a tent on your land? It's the Empress, no matter what happens, she's fine. right? She could go live in the woods if she wanted to, and she'd go through the woods with her little book on which mushrooms are non-toxic and which berries you can eat, and she's just humming as she's going through the woods. Everybody's like, oh my god, everything, blah, 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 blah. And the Empress is just like going through the woods, collecting berries, you know, cultivating her farm, feeding her animals. She's off the grid. She's totally fine. This is just an analogy. I mean, for me, it's not an analogy. That's something that I would like to have someday. But my point is, like, the Empress is abundance. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if she loses all her money. She's good. This is a mindset. This is a... just to get biblical real quick with you, it's like the Abrahamic covenant. Like, this is the blessing of Abraham. This is the promise of Abraham. This is your descendants upon your descendants upon your descendants will be blessed. You will have more children than there are stars in the sky, and every single one of them will be taken care of, financially and otherwise. In the Psalms, you will never see a child of Abraham begging for bread. Anyways, so I'm going to get off of that because I know a lot of you are not religious. But these are ideas, even though I'm no longer a Christian, these are ideas that I still glean and still hold, right? I believe in the blessing of Solomon. I believe in Solomon's seal. I believe that there is truth, like in the Kabbalah, for example, which is on the 10 of Pentacles. Like, lots of those ideas are built into this card, literally. So anyways, that's a side message. But all right, let's bring back around. I'm out of breath. All right, we gotta do a little stretch. Okay. Take a second, take a sip. Bought my merch. The secret of the Empress is the fact that she is self-sufficient. She is a cup that continues to run over, right? One of the first secrets of the Empress, aside from all the stuff that I already have said today, one of the main things that I should say is that the Empress doesn't need really anybody. It's almost as if that's why the Empress is not a woman. The Empress is an energy. Like, she's not a woman or a man. You know what I'm saying? She is like an entity of sorts, and we can all have access to this. This is like Lakshmi, right? Type in Lakshmi on YouTube. Sometimes I listen to Lakshmi mantras for abundance. Lakshmi is a goddess of abundance. She reminds me of the Empress. She's usually seen holding these pots of gold, and the gold coins are just falling out as she's sitting there. What I was gonna say is, it's like, and I'm not trying to sound weird, but it's almost like the Empress, she can birth something alone. And I know that we have the Emperor and the Empress, but this is the funny thing about the tarot, is the goal is not to become the Empress, or the goal is not to become the Emperor. The goal, and I don't have it today, but I think I had it on my last episode, the world. Our goal is to actually be both, right? Our goal is not to be one or the other. Our goal is to be this integrated being of the masculine and the feminine, right? So I'm not trying to get like too deep with this. I'm trying to say, like, oh, well, I want love. I want 10 of cups. I want 10 of pentacles with my perfect partner. I'm not saying that is not important. Like, that's what I want as well. But what I'm saying here today is that we actually, in order to be truly abundant, we need to heal the Star with the Four of Swords. So crazy that these are both cards of healing. We need to begin to heal these false mindsets with the Knight of Swords of rushing and fear and panic and we're in a recession, we're in an economic recession. Okay, what did I say about the Empress? She's good. You know what I'm saying? She's got her land, she's fine. She doesn't even need money. That's the crazy part about the Empress. She's so above this planet that she doesn't even need human money. Do you know what I'm saying? She's above money. Right? It's almost as if it's kind of like a similar thing where like if somebody has connections, doesn't really, it's like somebody else would have to go through like 20 years of climbing the ladder or something, and then this Empress just walks in the door and she gets the job because she like knows a guy, sort of a thing, right? That's what I'm talking about here. Really, the high vibration of this message, we don't even need money. Right? Just let that set. I feel like Kyle Cease would be proud of me right now. Hello, Kyle. Thank you for your messages. Because Kyle does talk a lot about like these concepts of money and that we if we release this need for money, that's when it comes to us, essentially, right? And that's basically what I'm trying to say here. Is it's like, well, I need this and I need that. I know. I'm going out tonight to work on my side gig. I'm freaking exhausted. Like, do you know how much I work? Like, I'm not sitting here as a multimillionaire. I will be one day. But today I'm not. Today I'm going out and I'm working my ass off at a night job. I'm freaking exhausted. That's who you have sitting here today, right? So there's always a balance to my messages. I'm not just sitting here like in the vibe of the Empress, just like swing, you know what I mean? Just like swing in the wind, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so amazing here. I just love to be here. It's like, no, I'm not talking about that. To be honest with you, I don't agree with that. Okay. That's because I'm an emperor and an empress, if you know what I'm saying here. Okay. My point with what I was saying before, though, Star, Four of Swords, Knight of Swords, we need to heal. This is part of the secret of the Empress. We need to heal and actually unlearn the garbage that was shoved at us since we were children on this freaking planet. Since we were children, we have been inundated with fear, with false paradigms, with our parents fighting over money, with not having enough money. I mean, I have, like, growing up, I went from having, like, you know, plenty of what I wanted, or that's how I felt, to us having absolutely nothing. And we're completely poor. Not to air my parents' dirty laundry, but just like, you know, at the time, we were literally like on welfare in the freaking line to get food. It's like, I remember standing in my backyard, like pouring out old cans of soda that were donated to us so that I could put the 5-cent cans into the machine, right? Like, we got our Thanksgiving meal from the town. That, like, because people were, I grew up in a very wealthy town, and so there were a lot of, like, programs through our town. So anyways, my point is that it's like I've kind of been on different sides of the spectrum, and I will say this. It's better to have money, okay? So we got to balance this stuff out. There was a documentary years ago. What was it called? Something Happiness. I can't remember the title right now. Basically, the concept of the documentary. It was a study done. Does money really buy happiness? And the answer was actually kind of. Okay, so I do want to balance this message out a little bit. Everything I said about the high vibe Empress and she's above money and this and that. Let's bring it back around to the 3D just for a second here. That documentary, the point was, and this was filmed years ago now, so it's probably different now because our money's different now, but at that time when it was filmed, they were showing that money bought happiness, quote unquote, up until about $70,000 a year. People who made $70,000 a year were very, very happy because of that. Because they could pay their bills, they had a little extra money to put aside so they could go on a vacation with their family. They were kind of more, they were just like they had their needs met. This is the interesting part of the documentary. Every bit of money, it's like that was that tax bracket, 70,000 and under. The second it started to go above that to a higher tax bracket, it didn't really buy happiness anymore. So anything over $70,000, it didn't really buy happiness. But everything below that did, because Knight of Swords, people are panicked. Does anybody want to live in panic? No. My point is that money does buy happiness to a degree. It buys happiness up until that threshold of like when your bills are taken care of, and I've been in that position before. When I was a minister, my needs were handled. And I had quite a bit of a savings and I had investments. I will just say that I'm not going to go into all that. My point is that I've been on different extremes. I've had different amounts of money. I've been in different situations. And I will say money does buy happiness when you're literally awake at night worrying how you're going to pay your bills, right? But part of being an empress, part of the secrets of the empress are that all of that is BS, right? I'm not saying we don't need money. Like I said, I'm literally going out tonight doing a job I don't want to do because I need to pay my mortgage while I'm living my dream. And this is just part of being an entrepreneur, right? We've got to make stuff work. We got to be practical. The Empress is very practical, right? Empress is Taurus. The Empress is not like careless. She takes care of her children, 10 of Cups. She takes care of her family. She takes care of herself. She takes care of her money. She knows how to invest her money. She's not, like, in the same token, like, she's walking out in the woods collecting berries during an economic collapse, but on the flip side, she's also walking into a Wall Street office and she's respected there as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the Empress is... It's like we're supposed to be the emperor and the empress. We're not supposed to just have one side or the other. Do you know what I mean? What male, female, non-binary, however you identify, the highest vibration of a human being is on the world card. It's the masculine and the feminine are one, right? That's part of the secret of the empress is that I'm trying to find the words for this. It's a mindset. It's a mindset of abundance. It's an abundance mindset. It's the opposite of a poverty mindset. And that we have to unlearn a lot to get there. So even while I am doing a job tonight that I don't want to be doing, in my mind, I am abundant. And that is why you will see me with multi-million dollars in a time to come. Because for me, whether I have a lot of money or I have a little amount of money, and I've had both, right? It's not about that. It's about the fact that I'm the empress. You're the empress. And we need to start to tackle these fears and tackle this stuff step by step, day by day. And part of the way we do that rather is through 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups. And what do I mean by that? We need to have a vision of what we want. We can't just be like, I mean, you can, but you're not going to get very far. I want to be rich. 10 of Pentacles. Okay, what does that mean? You want to be rich? How are you going to get rich? Oh, well, I guess I didn't really think that far ahead. All I know is that I want to be rich, so maybe I'll play the lottery. Love and light. You know what I mean? It's like, I want, when I ask this question, I want you to come into my office with a 10-point plan on how you're going to make this money. Well, I want to make $1 million by next year. Great. Write it out, right? The science of getting rich, you know, it's all of that combined. And I've listened to all that stuff. I've learned about all that stuff, right? A lot of us have. But this is the funny part about all that. Knight of Swords. We can listen to like every spiritual teacher in the world. We can listen to a bunch of business mentors. We can read a bunch of books, Knight of Swords, and still be struggling and still just keep it all in the intellect and not do anything, right? And just still stay in fear and be like, but I know all this stuff and I want to be rich but I just don't know how. It's like, because that's the problem. We're trying to become rich when we should be trying to become abundant. And that's why I put in this title that you can birth your dream faster than you think. Because this is the crazy part. When you start out with a plan, 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups, visualize what you want in your life. For me, I want a lot of land. I want a farm. I want a family. I want to have a beautiful life that I have planned in my head. This is the visualization part here. The Empress, she does have a plan, right? She's not just like, you know, totally free and loose with it. Like, oh, well, I'm just gonna like go with the wind. No. The Empress she's a goddess. She has a kingdom. Do you know what I mean? Like, so when I'm talking about being rich versus abundant, there are these side messages that are in here. And part of that is literally write it out. I would recommend joining Chris Reck's Dent Makers, shameless plug. I am not sponsored by him. I just really believe in what he's doing. I'll put the link down below on how you can join. It's a really amazing community on how you can actually put your dreams into action. A lot of his course has to do with exactly what I'm saying here. Writing down your vision. I'm thinking of this scripture, write down your vision and make it plain on tablets, right? That's something that I learned a lot growing up, being a part of the church, and specifically the prosperity gospel, which I now consider a cult. But at the time, you know, it was all about God's abundance. And there are some good things that I do still hold from that, but for the majority, I have discarded much of that information. Regardless, one of the main things that has stuck with me for many years is to actually write this stuff down. What do you want? Oh, I want to be rich. I want a family. I want the love of my life. Okay, write it down. Literally, like write down all the details. I've been doing this for years. Like I've gone through many versions of what I thought I wanted my dream life to be, right? So think about it. Write it down. And if you don't want to write out like a novel, just write out like 10 bullet points. 10 bullet points. What do you want? Right? And then off of those 10 bullet points, then you can write like the sub points if you want to put more information. Because I find that sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes when I've been a part of a lot of like courses and classes and groups and sometimes I am so discouraged on something that I don't even like want to write anything down. So if you can't do all that, the best thing to do is to literally just at least write down like 10 points. That would be my advice with this. All right. Anything else here? I think I'm going to close on that because that's the practical side of this. It's like we can do all of this inner work with like healing our false sense of like what money means. But at the end of the day, with all of that spiritual work, the star that we do need to actually be practical about it. Like, if you want to have your own business, you need to actually be practical about it and start putting it into action and not just keep it stuck in the mind, right? And actually put some action steps out into the world. And that is something that we've actually talked about on past episodes. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. It's been Missy Gordon, the Meta Mystic here. If you'd like to support the channel, you can purchase merch as well as donate to support so that I can upgrade my equipment. All the links are down in the description. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.